Now, Minister of Basic Education Siviwe Gwarube is inviting public participation for the first two sets of regulations under the Basic Education Laws Amendment. The regulations are aimed at establishing minimum uniform norms and standards for the capacity for ordinary public schools. The main goal is to prevent overcrowding and ensure effective use of classrooms. Joining us is Dr. Anthea Cereseto from the Governing Body Foundation. Doctor, thank you so much for your time and for being with us this morning. What would you say is the significance of the two regulations, the admission of learners to public schools and the minimum uniform norms and standards for capacity, in shaping the future for public education in our country?
Right. Good morning. Thank you. And good morning to the viewers as well. This is a very long process, and regulations come quite near the end of everything. You will remember in June last year, the National Assembly, the House of Assembly and the National Council of Provinces approved the Bella Bill, and then we had elections, and eventually the president signed the amendments into law, adjusting the existing South African Schools Act with all the amendments that were in the bill. That happened in September. Then there was a delay for the actual implementation. 24th of December, the president signed the implementation of all the amendments to the Schools Act. And so from the 24th of December, the Schools Act as amended has actually been in operation. Now, with most laws, there are regulations that are needed to specify how the aspects stated in the law are to be carried out. And that's what's happening now. So there are going to be quite a number of regulations coming in due course. And the first two were published for comment. So the public is always entitled to comment on regulations when they're published. And they're given 30 days normally. That takes us up to the 5th of September. Members of the public can access these regulations on the Department of Basic Education website, and they can see what those regulations say. But I do want to emphasize that the regulations in themselves won't change the law as it exists. But it's still good for parents to have a look at them. The two are on admissions. So the admissions in general are specified in the Act and how it all should be done. And then these regulations just take it a little bit further and explain certain processes in more detail. Now, you can't have admissions and say a school is full or not full unless you've got something to determine whether it is full or isn't full. And so then we have these capacity regulations. And so the law is basically saying, in general, a maximum should be of 1 to 35, in particular of this category of learner, and 1 to 40 of this category of learner. So maximums. So the norms are basically saying, right now, when these regulations are finally published and approved and published as approved regulations, no classes should be bigger than 40. And so that would be good news to everybody. However, we are concerned that that still might not be possible because we don't have enough classrooms in high demand areas. Let's just take that video that I saw just now. In that particular area where people are settled, I'm not sure where the nearest school would be and whether that school would have capacity to absorb the people who've moved into that area and their children need schooling. And I think that's what's concerning a lot of people. So also in the video that you showed as an introduction to this, I saw some pictures of learners at school desks. And if you look at those pictures, that's a realistic picture, I think, of a school classroom. But this capacity regulation has said that grade grade 1 classrooms, you need 1.6, that's the picture, 1.6 meters for grade R's, but from grade 1 upwards, all the way to grade 12, each learner can have 1 square meter. And that picture actually indicates that 1 square meter for one learner is a very little space. There's no space for the walkway between desks. There's no space for the children to put their suitcases on the floor. And a very little space is assigned to the teacher's area, where the teacher has a desk and has shelves with books and materials that the teacher needs to work with, and needs to walk in front of the classroom and up and down aisles to see what's going on. I think this capacity, and we have stated this, is undercalculated, that unfortunately 1 square meter for grade 12 learners, and I'm not even saying grade 12, it's even younger learners, 1 meter square is really not enough to move effectively in a classroom, to create learning groups, put desks together, have learning groups, all the modern, correct, improved methodologies of teaching where there's more learner participation. It's not just teacher talking all the time. The teacher can't sit at a desk and talk from a desk. And if you're confined in a little space, I fear that might happen. We need space for movement and for real dynamic education to happen. So there are some problems with this capacity determination. It's good in that it might say your school is too full, where some schools have taken more children than they should have, and there are other schools in the neighborhood that are empty or less full. Those schools need to be filled up to the norm capacity. But it's also really difficult because not all classrooms are the same size in the school. A school may have some small classrooms and some big classrooms.
Right.
So you can't average it. So there's some practical problems. Just for the parents' sake, what can they do? They can be aware of what these regulations say, and it's got nothing to do with corporal punishment or discipline or that sort of thing. But what can they do? Be familiar. And when they believe things are not right in their community, they need actually to take action, and that would be to district officers, to go and find a solution for themselves in the district offices.
Right. Doc, I think I want us to go back to the parents in just a bit, but speaking on the issues of capacity in terms of the space, in terms of the desks between the learners and the number of learners that are in a classroom, do you believe that such regulations will then get the ball rolling with regards to conversations that the Department of Education would then need to have with Public Works in building more schools or creating more space so that we are able to then meet these requirements of the regulations that we're putting on paper?
Yes, indeed. So we would have a norm now. We do believe the norm is still understated, so that is a problem, and we fought this for years. But yes, I do think that we need to say the maximum capacity in this school is this. This school is being worked at overcapacity. It's very common. Where are schools needed? The problem is there's a lot of movement within our country, and sometimes there are schools, but no learners. And sometimes the schools where the learners are already full to capacity. And then there may be another movement. So you build a school to meet a particular need, but then that's a group of people moves to where there are better opportunities. So working out patterns of people movements, and people will go where there is work and opportunity. So if you establish some industrial zone where there's some meaningful work going on and communities move into that area to serve that industrial zone, then a school needs to be there. They can't then travel 20, 30 kilometers to wherever there is an empty school. So there are challenges, but it is the MEC for Education in the province's job to work with all that kind of information. And they've got to work with the data scientists who can help them look at the patterns of migration in our South African statistics and see, well, what is actually happening? but bottom line is people are going where there is work and they want to live as close to the work as possible.
Right.
But also they are seeking quality education. So why some people don't like the regulations, they think it's not transforming schools. People still can't get access to the high demand quality schools. And I think that's a fact that's got to be addressed, that all schools need to have improved performance, but also better discipline. People seek schools with good discipline. If you have an overcrowded school, it compromises discipline.
It certainly does.
It's a very difficult network of factors. And governing body associations such as ourselves, the teacher unions, other education stakeholders are working hard at trying to identify the things so that we can have learners going to schools close enough to home, but those schools must offer the kind of quality education.
That
Now,
they
often there
seek.
isn't space. There
For
isn't
many of
space,
those
you know.
learners. Unfortunately, Dr. Cereseto, we have run out of time, but a very crucial conversation to be having, and I think most importantly, just the plead to parents to be engaging in this public participation process before it closes on the 5th of September, and them understanding these regulations and engaging with it. Thank you so much for your time and giving us a lot of clarity